News Miami-Dade. Cámaras escolares en Miami-Dade. 47 millones al condado, de un contrato copiado de 6 zonas a 206. El documento con el que la administración pidió a los comisionados aprobar las cámaras de velocidad en zonas escolares describía el programa, por escrito, como positivo en ingresos. Año y medio después, el presupuesto adoptado del condado consigna casi 47 millones de dólares como ingreso condal por esas multas, y reparte 2/3 del fondo bajo 2 renglones de destino amplio. El 17 de enero de 2024, la Junta de Comisionados de Miami-Dade aprobó el contrato para instalar cámaras automáticas de velocidad en las 206 zonas escolares ya autorizadas por ordenanza. Sin sacarlo a concurso. Adhiriéndose a un contrato que la ciudad de Alpharetta, en Georgia, había adjudicado en 2019, y que allí se implementó en 6 zonas escolares. El programa, por ordenanza, solo funciona en el área no incorporada del condado. El asunto no empezó en enero de 2024. Empezó el 3 de octubre de 2023, cuando la Junta adoptó la resolución R-901-23, patrocinada por el entonces vicepresidente Anthony Rodríguez. Esa resolución no ordenaba estudiar el mercado ni licitar. Nombraba a la empresa, Red Speed Georgia. Y ordenaba algo más. En su sección 2 dice que, en 30 días, la alcaldesa preparará un punto de agenda adjudicando un contrato a Red Speed. En su sección 3 dice que, si no consigue cerrarlo, tendrá que presentar un informe explicando por qué no se adjudicó. Es decir, lo que había que justificar era el fracaso, no la adjudicación. Se aprobó por 10 votos a favor y 2 en contra, los de las comisionadas Aline Higgins y Raquel Regalado, con el comisionado René García ausente. El 7 de noviembre de 2023 la Junta aprobó la ordenanza 23-99, que identifica las 206 zonas escolares. Su declaración de impacto fiscal decía que por la cantidad de variables no podía calcularse el impacto, pero que se anticipaba que el programa fuera generador de ingresos. La ley estatal exige algo más que aprobar la ordenanza. Obliga a considerar, en la audiencia pública, datos de tráfico u otra evidencia que respalde cada sistema propuesto, y a determinar que cada zona escolar donde se coloque constituye un riesgo elevado. La ordenanza hace esa determinación en una sola fórmula que cubre las 206 zonas a la vez. La evidencia que consta en el expediente publicado es una cifra global, cerca de 2.500 multas en todo el año 2022. No se localizaron datos desglosados por zona. El 17 de enero de 2024 llegó la adjudicación. El memorando de la alcaldesa describía el sistema como financiado exclusivamente por el infractor, sin coste para el condado y, textualmente, positivo en ingresos. Con una proyección de 144 millones de dólares para el condado y 71 para la empresa a lo largo de 6 años. Conviene entender que son los 215 millones que figuran en el título de la resolución. No es lo que el condado paga. Son las dos proyecciones sumadas. El pliego original era de 2019. Alpharetta lo publicó el 6 de junio y lo cerró el 14 días. Pedía un sistema para 9 zonas escolares. Recibió 3 propuestas, de Red Speed, Vera Mobility y Census America. Y todo lo que el expediente de Miami-Dade dice sobre por qué ganó Red Speed cabe en una frase, que las propuestas se evaluaron contra los criterios de puntuación del pliego. Ni los criterios, ni las puntuaciones, ni el comité, ni el acta. La ficha del proveedor que el propio memorando incluye dice que Red Speed Georgia tiene su domicilio principal en Lombard, Illinois. En la casilla de domicilio local, ninguno. Empleados residentes en Miami-Dade, 4, el 4% de su plantilla. Y marca que la preferencia para pequeñas empresas y la preferencia local no se aplican. Son figuras del concurso público, y aquí no hubo concurso.
All right. The next item.
Item 8P2.
Vice Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and if the attorney can just read a motion that I have on the record. The amendment.
Vice Chairman Rodriguez moves to amend item 8P2 to change the lead county department administering the contract with Red Speed Georgia LLC for the installation and operation of an automated speed detection and enforcement system at school zones from the Miami-Dade Police Department to the Department of Transportation and Public Works. DTPW will work in coordination with other county departments, including MDPD and ITD, in administering the contract, and will take on the responsibilities of the lead county user department in place of MDPD. All references to MDPD in the mayor's memorandum as lead department will be replaced with DTPW. And the resolution, section 1, is amended to read as follows. This board approves the access of contract number 20-103 speed detection camera system for school zones with Red Speed Georgia LLC for the Department of Transportation and Public Works and a total amount estimated to be $215 million for the 6-year term. Conforming changes will be made to the title of the resolution to identify DTPW as the lead user department.
Thank you. And it is pooled by district. Commissioner from the 13th district, the 7th district, and the 5th district. Do anybody wish to speak on it, or is it just for voting purposes?
Madam Mayor, you feel comfortable with this piggybacking of contract?
I understand that behind the question, if I may, through the chair, is that we're dealing with a company that might not have the same experience for a large venue as ours. I think the question really is the technology. And if maybe we could hear from procurement director about that.
So, Senator, you're absolutely right. We generally look at the comparability of the contract, but if it's any consolation, when we did the research, there are 3 main companies in this space, and all three companies offer different models for structuring the contract. I think the model that Red Speed has adopted in terms of no cost to the agency. They're bearing the entire upfront cost and sharing, and if the tickets are generated, both parties share the portion of that ticket. I think that's the most common model that we're seeing and most prevalent because we don't have to invest in any technology, while the other companies also charge a lot for technologies. So I think from that point of view, we do feel comfortable.
Okay. Listen, again, I'll leave it up to, I'll pass it on to Commissioner Regalado. I mean, if it's up to the chair, whatever, the chair decides.
Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I voted against this in committee and also in first reading. There's a lot of reasons that I think we should hit the pause on this. I think Commissioner Garcia has brought up some good points. I also caution you all. I also dealt with red light cameras at the city of Miami for a very, very, very long time. And once you go down this road, it's very, very hard to undo it. That being said, this impacts the school district. The school district should be participating in this, and they're not. The funds should go to the school district at some point, whether it's in the form of adding more personnel around the schools. There are many schools in Miami-Dade County that do not have crossing guards because they do not have funding. That funding is done by the county if it's unincorporated or if it's done by the city. There are also a lot of schools that do not have the funding to fix their queue, which is the traffic at the drop-off and pickup site. And finally, after Parkland, we needed at the school district side to change school zones because after Parkland, for those of you who were in Tallahassee, you remember, we had a dramatic change that you can only go in and out of a school through one entrance, but the school zones stayed the same. So I think there needs to be a broader conversation about how school zones work, how these tickets are going to work, where kids are coming in and out, what's the difference between a high school and a middle school and an elementary school. Schools that have invested in putting their queue inside the school, schools that have the queue outside and it impacts traffic. So it's a very complex situation, and what I will warn you about this is that you're going to have a lot of angry people, and we still have not seen the evidence that this is really necessary. I think this is more a solution looking for a problem. If you want to have this conversation, bring in the school district, bring in Safe Streets, bring in the University of Miami. They do this work. They do Bike Safe. They do Walk Safe. There's a lot of people that are doing this work. The TPO does this work under a committee where we talk about pedestrian and cyclist safety and we focus on schools. I've been doing this work as a school board member and then also as a county commissioner. We're working on bike lanes around certain schools. So I'm not saying that absolutely it would not be needed in some places, but I think this blanket decision to do it in this manner is going to be challenging for everyone involved, and it's going to be very difficult for us to roll back.
La cronología cabe en una tabla, y cada fila sale de un documento oficial o de la grabación de la sesión. 31 de mayo de 2023. El gobernador firma la ley estatal que autoriza estos sistemas. 3 de octubre, la Junta nombra a Red Speed por resolución. 7 de noviembre, la ordenanza fija las 206 zonas. 8 de enero de 2024, el punto pasa por comité, con recomendación favorable por 3 votos a 1. 17 de enero, se adjudica el contrato, por 10 votos a 3. 4 de noviembre, arranca la instalación. 4 de septiembre de 2025, en la audiencia de presupuesto se explica que el dinero se reparte por distritos. 21 de enero de 2026, llega el primer informe anual. 2 de junio de 2026, la Junta ratifica 10 millones y medio de un ejercicio ya cerrado. La ley fija cómo se reparte cada multa de $100. 60 se los queda el condado. 20 van al Fondo General del Estado. 12 al distrito escolar. 5 al programa de guardias de cruce. Y 3 a un fondo estatal de formación policial. Es decir, de cada $100 que paga un conductor multado junto a una escuela, 12 llegan al sistema escolar y 65 se quedan en la jurisdicción que puso la Cámara. ¿Qué se hace con esa porción figura, con nombre y número, en el presupuesto adoptado del ejercicio 2025-26, que es el que está corriendo ahora mismo y termina el 30 de septiembre? Las cámaras tienen fondo propio, el G3109. El libro consigna $46.987.000 de ingresos por multas y 6 millones y medio de remanente. Y reparte los 53.487.000 resultantes en 5 renglones, 15.506.000 de pago a la empresa, 2.037.000 para revisiones de infracciones, 705.000 de administración, 14 millones y medio de transferencia a la oficina de la sheriff, y 20.739.000 bajo el epígrafe de otros costes de proyecto legalmente elegibles. Son cifras presupuestadas, no recaudación comprobada. Pero permiten 3 cuentas que el propio libro sostiene. La primera. Los 15 millones y medio del proveedor coinciden con el 33% de los 47 millones consignados, y el 33% es la parte que la empresa cobra de los $60 que el condado retiene. Hay una segunda comprobación, y es lo que el fondo no tiene. Si el ingreso fuera bruto, el lado del gasto tendría que llevar las remesas al Estado y al distrito escolar, más de 16 millones. Tiene 5 renglones y ninguno es una remesa. O sea que esos casi 47 millones son la porción condal, no la recaudación total. La segunda. El coste operativo identificable sube a 18.248.000, alrededor del 34% del fondo. La tercera. Los 2 renglones de destino más amplios suman 35.239.000, 2/3 del total. Y hay una cifra anterior que no se había contado. El ejercicio 2024-25, el primero con cámaras encendidas, cerró con dinero que no estaba presupuestado, 10 millones y medio, bajo un concepto llamado literalmente ingreso por cámaras de Red Speed. 4 millones a gastos y 6,5 a reserva. Y esos 6,5 son exactamente el remanente que el presupuesto siguiente consigna para el mismo fondo. Ese dinero no va a un fondo común. En la audiencia de presupuesto del 4 de septiembre de 2025, la comisionada Aline Higgins lo explicó en sesión pública. El ingreso se divide en 13 partes, una por distrito. El apéndice G del mismo libro lo confirma con otro nombre, proyectos de Red Speed por distrito de comisión. Lo que sigue sin publicarse es cuánto va a cada uno.
Very much. And then, I know this is a very small amount. We have a new source of revenue in the county from our school zone cameras. I voted against that item, but that revenue source is divided into 13 piles. It wasn't going back into the general fund. By the way, it's many, many, many millions of dollars. I don't represent much of UMSA, so mine's a very small amount. But Madam Mayor, I would like to amend the county budget to reallocate the school zone speed detection system distribution for District 5 to the countywide general fund to fund community-based organizations for eligible public safety initiatives. And I think there's any relevant portions of items C, E, and H. Did I get that right? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from the attorneys, are amended accordingly. And so it's not a huge contribution, but it'll put a little bit back into the CBO pot. Thank you. And I would appreciate a second on my amendment when we get there. Second. Thank you.
And the money to restore the CBO funding that we see, especially for our legacy programs. And I want to mention these in particular as the farm share. The 762 CABA to 319 Lotus House, for the 50 beds. These are all countywide services, Voices for Children, and ADE. Those legacy projects, amongst the other ones, I think are importantly, we can find the funding with that, with what Commissioner Higgins, you mentioned about the school zone automated speed detection program, which allocates about $20 million to the county commission. I think that money could better be used to make sure we take care of our CBOs. And Mr. Chairman, I think I could make those and the FIFA money, I agree with that as well. The FIFA money is another avenue that we can use, and maybe the 10 million has been expended already, but you may have another 10 million that was there, and I do agree.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we all get clear on the item and the numbers and how things are being allocated, because the $215 million, just to be clear, if Namada is still here, is not $215 million that the county is responsible for paying, correct?
Through the chair, you're right. We're not paying for any technology or system. The company is going to bear the cost for the entire system. What we're representing in the item is the projected revenue that could be generated based on the number of tickets.
And in the item, it says here, the county would not necessarily retain 144 million, as House Bill 657 indicates that the county will retain $60 to administer speed detection systems in school zones and other public safety initiatives, and will remit $40 to entities as follows: $20 to the Department of Revenue for deposit into the General Revenue Fund, $12 to the school district for school safety and security initiatives, student transportation or safety of student walking conditions, $5 to the county or municipality for the school guard recruitment and retention program. So of the funds generated from these tickets that are being cited in order to protect our children in school zones where the law is that you're supposed to be driving 15 miles an hour, these funds are going to get distributed as outlined in the item, some of which are going to the school board, correct?
Yes, these were itemized in the House bill.
Okay, and I'm assuming this was publicly noticed. I know that it was because it came before us previously. We've certainly had plenty of opportunity for the public to speak and to be heard. Has the school board articulated either in writing or before this body any objection or any interest in having anything different than what's before us today?
I would not know that. I did not. In my team, we didn't hear anything. I don't know if police heard any objection from that.
Yeah, neither have I. Thank you so much. Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
El 21 de enero de 2026, la Junta recibió el primer informe anual del programa, obligatorio por ley estatal. Y aquí conviene decir de cuándo son las cifras, porque son las últimas que el condado ha hecho públicas y ya han pasado más de 12 meses desde que se cerró ese periodo. Del 1 de diciembre de 2024 al 31 de julio de 2025 se emitieron 252.873 notificaciones de infracción. Se impugnaron 2.129. Se confirmaron 1.598 y se desestimaron 531. Se pagaron 170.404. Y 75.468 se convirtieron en multas de tráfico uniformes, 30 de cada 100. Conviene poner esa primera cifra al lado de la que el condado usó para justificar el programa. En todo el año 2022, con agentes, la policía emitió cerca de 2.500 multas por velocidad en zona escolar. En 8 meses, con cámaras encendidas en 27 de las 206 zonas, se emitieron 252.873 notificaciones. 100 veces más, con una décima parte del despliegue previsto. La comparación admite dos lecturas y las dos son legítimas. Que había una infracción masiva que nadie sancionaba. O que el aparato detecta a una escala que la vigilancia con agentes nunca tuvo. ¿Cuántas hay hoy encendidas, 14 meses después? Es algo que el condado no ha publicado. Y esa última cifra, la de las conversiones, cierra el círculo con la sesión de enero de 2024. Es exactamente el paso que la abogada del condado describió cuando corrigió a la Junta, la conversión en multa de tráfico, que es la vía por la que, si tampoco se atiende, puede acabar costando el carné.
So this report is a an annual requirement per state statute. There are certain components that do need to be read into the record, so if you'll give me a moment, I will read that into the record. So these are program results for the Miami-Dade County Red Speed Program from December 1st, 2025 to July 31st, 2025. Notice of violations issued were 252,873. Notice of violations contested, 2,129. Notices of violations upheld at administrative hearing, 1,598. Notices of violation dismissed at administrative hearing, 531. Notices of violation paid, 1,070, 404. And notices of violation issued as uniform traffic citations, 75,468. Distribution of funds for the 2024-25 fiscal year. The Florida Department of Revenue General Revenue Fund received $3,408,080. Florida Department of Revenue Department of Law Enforcement Criminal Justice Standards and Training Trust Fund received $511,212. The County School District received $2,044,848. The School Crossing Guard Recruitment and Retention Program received $852,020. Miami-Dade County, this is for Program Administration and Public Safety Initiatives, received $6,645,756, and Red Speed received $3,578,484 for a total of $17,040,400, excuse me. Additional fees, credit card chargebacks, return checks, and refunds was a negative $32,800, and hearing officer fees were $74,450.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, can we have the information regarding the budget? She agreed to put it in the report moving forward.
Yeah, show the record that the Director has agreed to add that to the report or a budget or some form on paper that we can look at that. Yep.
Thank you.
I'd agree.
El informe no se aceptó en silencio. La comisionada Raquel Regalado lo sacó de la lista para discutirlo, y dijo algo que apunta justo a lo que este trabajo ha tenido que reconstruir a mano, que el informe cuenta lo recaudado pero no lo cruza con el presupuesto. Explicó que tuvo que ir ella misma al libro a cuadrar las cifras, y pidió que en adelante el informe incluya las proyecciones y su encaje presupuestario. La directora de Transporte y Obras Públicas aceptó, y el presidente ordenó que constara en acta. Después intervino el comisionado Ken Hardeman, y ahí apareció algo que no está en ningún documento del programa. Dijo que durante el ciclo presupuestario la Junta había dado instrucciones sobre cómo repartir ese dinero, y que estaba previsto que cada distrito afectado recibiera una parte. Y dijo que le sorprendió descubrir que el total va primero a la oficina de la sheriff, antes de que los distritos puedan disponer de nada. Su objeción de fondo fue esa, que una cosa es que a un barrio le lluevan las multas y otra que ese barrio pueda reinvertir lo que paga. Para responder bajó al estrado el director de la Oficina de Gestión y Presupuesto, Ray Baker, y describió el mecanismo con una claridad que el expediente no tiene. Primero entra lo que corresponde a la sheriff. Una vez cubierto eso, la porción siguiente es la que queda disponible para los 13 distritos. Y reconoció en voz alta la duda que eso deja abierta, si habrá dinero suficiente para esa porción. El comisionado Oliver Gilbert lo resumió en una frase, que a ellos no les pagan hasta que han cobrado todos los demás. Al cerrar, Regalado propuso dejar de mirar esto una vez al año y revisarlo cada 3 o 4 meses, precisamente porque parte de ese dinero financia a la sheriff. Todo lo anterior son posiciones expresadas en sesión pública, no hechos probados sobre cómo funciona el programa. Se recogen como lo que son.
While she comes down really quick.
Yep.
I just had a question about the report. Since we added this on the agenda, I know that we're following the reporting per state statute, but since we use this money in part to fund the sheriff, can we put in some information about the budget and if we're on track? Because I think that would be helpful for us as we go into the mid-year. So this is actually projection funding. So we have the numbers of how much is being collected, but we're not matching that up to the budget. So I had to go to the budget book and match it up. And the budget book obviously does the annual, not the quarterly. So moving forward, could we just put in like a line regarding the projections and how this ties into the budget? I think that would help us all just ensure as we go into the midterm that we're still within the range that we projected for this funding.
That works?
We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And do you want to go ahead and read your statement now?
I do. Thank you. I appreciate that. So,
All right, with that, Commissioner Hardiman.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chair. You know, during our budgeting cycle, we gave some direction as to how the money was to be allocated in the budget. And the question I have for the board as far as discussion-wise is, did any of you anticipate that we would not have, I'm trying to figure out a better way to say this. So, did anyone anticipate, one, that we wouldn't have the revenue from the program to support all of the aims that we had for distribution? So, for instance, with the revenue sharing, there was supposed to be a share of it that goes to each of the districts that were affected, so they can have the ability to assist with issues of crime reduction in whichever way we go about doing it. I know we gave a portion of those dollars to the sheriff's office, but it threw me for a loop, and I just was wondering if it threw any of you all for a loop, that we weren't going to have the revenue to cover, and then two, 100% of the dollars that were coming into Miami-Dade County were being first given to the sheriff's office before we were able to do anything within any of our districts for those dollars.
I'm not. Commissioner Regalado, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying, that the item doesn't speak to the decisions that we made in the budget, right? So the report should speak to the line item and the projections. I think when we decided to fund the sheriff, the conversation was that we would still retain our portion should that portion exist. So I think from a budgetary perspective, the idea was that we would pay what was due to the sheriff, and then if something was left over, because they're projections, right? Which is why I think we should have quarterly information on these projections. But that's going to come up in the mid-year. So that's why I'm saying at the mid-year we'll be able to shift that. So, for example, if there is a change in allocation in the mid-year for the sheriff, which we think that there will be, could that then shift this funding so that the districts could receive some of that money now instead of some of that money at the end of the year? Because if we get it at the end of the year, then we're not really getting it in this budget. We're getting it in the next budget, and it might be swept. That's my concern.
Is that Commissioner Hardiman?
Just a quick response to that, and then the Vice Chairman is asking to be recognized. Thank you for saying that, because what I haven't really seen is what's the plan for us to meet the budgetary projections that were presented to us earlier, right? Because if we don't meet those budgetary projections, then we don't have the revenue that we expected to have, right? And so, when you think about a program like this, part of the benefit to it, because I know this costs our taxpayers money, especially in areas where they're not. Well, people are very confused about how the red camera speed program works. What are the true times? Are you just doing it during the school hour time? It's different from what it used to be, put it that way. And so people are being tagged with this bill, and then for those of our districts who are most affected, they don't have the ability to, even for us to be for it to be reinvested into their neighborhoods. And so it's one thing to be tagged; it's another thing for then you to be able to reinvest it in the neighborhood that is getting the most. That are paying the most in the fees. And so I thought that was sort of the spirit of everything. And unfortunately, because we're not getting a portion of the revenue just yet, it's a bit frustrating, not only for the district, but certainly for the constituencies.
Yeah, and it is my understanding, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it is my understanding that we do have those funds coming into our district areas, if you would say, but they do have to be used, and I think some of us have already allocated those funds to certain things or organizations or things of that nature. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Regalado, of matching that up, which is somewhat what you're saying too, Commissioner, is to the budget to kind of see what's left over for us to allocate, right? Is that what you're kind of, because I know we have received the funds. I'm not sure I
Well, I think that's a question because yes, we made an allocation, but I know people receive funds in order to be able to be given to these organizations.
Through the chair, we'd be happy to have our Office of Management and Budget clarify the questions that are being raised.
Hi, good morning. Ray Baker, Office of Management and Budget Director. Good to see you all today. So that's correct. There are the money that's first coming in or projected to come in to the sheriff. Once we receive all the funds that match up to the budget for that, the next tranche would be what would be available for the districts as it was allocated across the 13 districts in the second budget memo. And that is divided up by the QNIP allocations for your district. So you all are correct bringing up these questions. Are we going to have enough money ready for that bucket, the bucket that's spread across your districts, to begin allocating and spending? And I believe the correct solution is that we give a good regular update on what we've actually received in revenues from this funding source so that we know that it is okay to start spending it, so to speak.
My question is, and this is sort of, you're right, it is from the last budget, but now my question is, because you had a pretty good answer. Like, you know what you're talking about, Director. So, Commissioner Hardiman, have you expressed this to them prior? Have you asked this question to them prior? Or you have? I thought so because he had the answer.
Well, I haven't spoken to him.
Correct, but like the administration had the answer. I'm wondering why that wasn't part of the report if there was a sense that some commissioners could have had questions on that. And that could be to the mayor, to the director, to the chief.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think the motion that was made, which is to make sure that that report going forward includes the actual budget numbers as opposed, in addition to the other numbers that need to be read into the record, included as part of it, should be what we're doing going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. Vice Chair and then Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and he pretty much answered the question because I had the same questions that Commissioner Hardiman had, and I believe it was Commissioner Regalado that helped clear it up. So I'm fine with your answer, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to put it plainly, we don't get paid until everybody else gets paid. So let's just, that's it, all right? We get paid after everybody else gets paid. The reason why we do that is because we use that money to shore up holes in other places. That was allowable by the statute. So we get paid after everybody else. I understand that. But I just want to be clear because something was said that it might get swept later if it comes in late. I don't subscribe to the idea that the administration can automatically, without our authority, sweep money out of any of our accounts. So I just want us to be clear about that before we go forward, because it was said, and you might have said it, and they might not have thought about it, and then they're like, "Oh, we can just sweep it." No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't sweep it. Whenever the money comes in, the budget ordinance is a duly adopted, legally binding thing. You're controlled by it. It's our money. No, you cannot sweep it. We get to allocate that money in our districts for public safety, road improvements, however we see fit for our districts.
Correct. You are correct, Commissioner Gilbert. And that's why we, as a body, decided to sweep our own fund and give towards the sheriff in the last budget. All right. With that, all in favor of the report signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the report passed. Madam Attorney, can we take the mayoral appointment of Director Baker, item 2B1?
El informe anual declara que la empresa recibe el 33% de los $60 que retiene el condado cuando hay hasta 100 sistemas instalados, y declara que había 70. El 33% de 60 son $19.80. Sobre 170.404 multas pagadas, darían $3.373.999. El informe reporta $3.578.484. 204.485 más. Esa cantidad equivale a $21 exactos por multa pagada, que es el 35% de los 60, no el 33% que el propio documento describe. Esa cuenta la hace News Miami-Dade sobre las 3 cifras del propio informe. Y la exactitud del resultado, $21 clavados, apunta más a una tarifa fija por multa que a un porcentaje. Conviene decir también lo que la cifra no desmiente. $21 siguen siendo menos que los 24,75 que la empresa cobra en Alpharetta. La promesa de cobrar lo mismo o menos por multa se sostiene. Lo que no encaja es el porcentaje. No hay nada que permita afirmar irregularidad. Puede tratarse de una condición contractual distinta de la que el informe resume, o de un error de redacción. Lo resolvería el contrato firmado con su tabla de precios. Y hay un dato que apunta en esa dirección. El pliego original de Alpharetta permitía expresamente cobrar de una de dos maneras, un reparto porcentual o una cantidad fija por multa pagada. Ese contrato no está publicado. La propia resolución dice que los documentos están archivados y disponibles a petición en el Departamento de Compras Estratégicas. Archivado y disponible a petición no es lo mismo que publicado. El contraste queda en 3 documentos y una frase. La declaración de impacto fiscal de la ordenanza decía que se anticipaba generador de ingresos. El memorando de la alcaldesa lo llamaba positivo en ingresos y proyectaba 144 millones para el condado. El presupuesto adoptado consigna casi 47 millones de ingresos por multas en un solo ejercicio. Y en la sesión donde se aprobó, el patrocinador de la ordenanza y de la resolución dijo, textualmente, que la intención no es generar ingresos. Que la idea es generar $0, porque 0 significaría que todos los conductores han frenado. Vale la pena leer la proyección con el calendario delante. Sumando las dos proyecciones, 215 millones en 6 años son unos 35.800.000 al año, frente a los 46.987.000 consignados. Y descontando al proveedor en los dos lados, 24 millones proyectados frente a 31.481.000. En ambos casos, alrededor de un tercio más de lo previsto. Lo que da peso a ese tercio es a qué escala se produce, según el último dato público, 70 sistemas en 27 zonas escolares, poco más de una de cada 10 de las 206 sobre las que se hizo la proyección. 2 precisiones para que la comparación sea justa. Lo que consigna el presupuesto es ingreso previsto, no recaudación cerrada. Y las multas del informe corresponden a 8 meses, no a un ejercicio completo. Aún así, la distancia entre lo proyectado y lo presupuestado no la explica ningún documento del expediente. La página oficial del condado afirma que el sistema se financia enteramente con las multas pagadas y que la infracción se produce al superar el límite en más de 10 millas por hora. Esa frase es cierta, pero se queda corta, porque no dice cuál de los dos límites ni en qué momento. La ley no contempla un supuesto de multa. Contempla 4, y no funcionan igual. 3 de ellos miden contra el límite reducido de la zona escolar y solo operan en ventanas cortas, los 30 minutos anteriores y posteriores al inicio del desayuno, los mismos 30 alrededor del inicio de las clases, y otros 30 alrededor de la salida. El cuarto es distinto en todo. Invoca otro artículo, el de velocidad ilegal general. Mide contra el límite normal de la vía, no contra el escolar. Y no opera en una ventana de media hora sino, en palabras del propio estatuto, durante la totalidad de la sesión escolar. Es decir, a media mañana, cuando el límite reducido no está en vigor, la cámara sigue funcionando. Lo que mide entonces es si el conductor supera en más de 10 millas el límite normal de esa vía. Y eso enlaza con lo que la ley exige colocar. El letrero permanente debe llevar el límite de la zona escolar y las horas en que rige, o una baliza intermitente en lugar de las horas. No obliga a colocar dentro de la zona el límite normal de la vía. Y el supuesto que corre toda la jornada se mide contra el límite colocado. El primer informe anual no permite saber cuánto pesa cada supuesto. Da los avisos emitidos y las demás cifras que la ley exige, pero no los desglosa por el artículo que invoca cada citación. Ese desglose existe necesariamente, porque cada citación se emite bajo uno u otro. Quedan preguntas, y conviene decirlas en voz alta. ¿Cuántas zonas se han sumado desde julio de 2025 y cuándo se completarán las 206? Si la empresa cobra un porcentaje o una cantidad fija por multa, ¿y bajo qué cláusula? ¿Qué ha hecho el distrito escolar con su parte? Que contienen exactamente los 20.739.000 de otros costes legalmente elegibles, distrito por distrito. Y la que importa más, si el programa redujo la velocidad. El informe anual contiene las 7 cifras obligatorias, pero ninguna de ellas mide si la gente frena. No se localizó una evaluación de reducción de velocidad ni en el informe ni en los expedientes revisados. Hay otra que nace de la propia señalización. La ley exige que el letrero permanente lleve el límite reducido y las horas en que rige, o una baliza. Con agentes eso importaba poco. Con un sistema que multa por franjas horarias, importa. ¿Llevan las 206 zonas las horas escritas o la baliza? La misma ley exige además, desde 2008, un letrero de multas dobles dentro de toda zona escolar de nueva creación o cuya señalización se haya reemplazado. Y esa pregunta tiene un responsable con nombre en la propia ley. Las zonas escolares mantenidas por el condado deben ser inspeccionadas periódicamente por la oficina de la sheriff o por otro agente cualificado, para determinar si se mantienen adecuadamente. Y mantener incluye expresamente los letreros. Esa obligación es de la ley general y no nació con este programa. Lo que los registros pueden responder es si esas inspecciones existen, con qué frecuencia y qué encontraron. El condado copió un contrato pensado para 6 zonas escolares y lo estiró a 206. Y hoy su presupuesto cuenta con casi $47 millones que salen del bolsillo de quien va deprisa junto a una escuela. La pregunta que nadie ha respondido no es cuánto se recauda. Es si alguien frena. Y viene al caso ahora, porque en septiembre la Junta adopta el presupuesto del ejercicio siguiente, y ese renglón vuelve a estar sobre la mesa. En News Miami-Dade leemos el expediente entero y seguimos tu dinero público dólar por dólar. El artículo completo, con los documentos y los 9 fragmentos de las sesiones, está en newsmiamidade.com.